talking about UFOs and airports, them shutting it down, affecting the radar, affecting people in air traffic control. And we're looking at all of the recent cases, meaning in the last few years. And if you look at 2023, 2024, a lot happened in case you missed it. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Mysteries with a History. I'm Cristina Gomez, and let me bring in my co host, Jimmy Church of Fade to Black Radio.
Man, we're just going straight in. We're just jumping in, huh?
Have
Just
to.
jumping in the pool. Just like, let's go. Hey, Christina, how are you? How is everybody? How you doing, Christina?
Doing so snazzy. How are you, Jimmy?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Been on the road. Just got back. So I missed everybody last week, but I'm back, just another road trip. Got another one done. And here we are continuing with the UFO mystery. And before I ask why now, why airports, I want your quick comment.
Like
I3
Jimmy Church
Atlas.
quick or like
Yeah,
reporter quick?
I3 Atlas. What's your take overall? I mean, Avi Loeb has been very vocal about this. Right now, we can't see it. It's going to appear to us for a ton of data collection, by the way, around Halloween on October 30th. But it's a 20-mile wide object. What do you think? What's your take?
We still need a lot more data. However, it is very interesting that people such as Avi Loeb and Anna Paulina Luna looking at this very seriously, taking a very serious approach. And as Luna had mentioned in her letter that she posted on Twitter, is that she wants to encourage NASA to do an investigation, get their Juno mission to look at it in March of 2026, and to push for possibly more funding and more time for that mission. So I think for a congressman to be like, hey, look into this, it shows that there's a level of seriousness, along with she did also cite Avi Loeb's paper. So there's a lot of controversy, a lot of ruffled feathers with this. People are like, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, it's totally fake, it's absolutely a comment like what NASA says. But I think just overall it's a very healthy conversation of being speculative, and at the very least just doing research, getting these astronomers to get their eyeballs on it. You prove us wrong, you know what, that's great, but as long as they're looking at it and providing the data to the public, that's what matters the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Avi's comment, comment, comment. Yeah,
See,
you
that
like that?
was good.
When he said something like, I want to make sure I have the right amount of zeros. It's a 0.0005 chance that it's natural.
Right.
I mean, that's what data is he looking at? But here is the trippy thing. Then we'll move on. We've got a lot to cover, very little time to do it. The universe is a big place. We understand that. It is ginormous. But for an interstellar object with the vastness of space to just pick our star system and our planet out for a flyby, making maneuvers and doing things and orbiting the sun, what are the odds of that? The universe is a big place. So I agree with Avi. It's doing strange things. It's here for strange reasons, apparently, especially if it's natural. This could be, I don't know if there's life on board, if it's a probe or whatever, but it certainly reminds me of Arthur C. Clarke and Rama and his Rama series of books. And it just seems like it's playing out just like that. Very, very interesting. All right. Where do you want to start today?
Okay, I think we should start with one of the more recent incidents, looking at Turkey. Have you ever been to Turkey, Jimmy?
I have not. Strangely enough, I have not. Go back, Lee Tappy. Yeah, I haven't been to Turkey. I've got it planned, but no, I haven't been to Turkey yet.
We're going to start off there because there were two different occurrences where UFOs were seen at an airport, and it actually halted the flights in the area. One of them took place last year, back. Oh no, was it this? It was recent. I want to say it was like January or February of actually 2025 at an Istanbul airport. And this one what's really interesting about this particular case is that it this was seen for several consecutive days, about 3 days, where UFOs were triggering traffic collision avoidance systems for pilots,
That's
with
right.
controllers acknowledging that they had to attempt to deal with this for about 2.5 hours as multiple flights received warnings about descending traffic that appeared as unidentified traffic on their systems, which is incredibly dangerous, especially when you're dealing with so many passengers. If it's just you, like it's just you as the pilot, it's not as terrifying. But when you have so many lives in your hands, it's a totally different ballgame. But despite the extensive air, sea, and land searches during that time frame, authorities found no sources for the radar contacts that pilots described as objects 50 feet below them. So their radar was telling the pilot there's an object about 500 feet below you, not 50, 500 feet, and about 5 miles ahead of these planes, creating a very persistent aviation hazard that, according to the systems and to the very few pilots that spoke out, that it really, there was no explanation for those types of warnings. Now, it was brushed off as merely errors in the plane systems, but it was happening over several days that it kind of debunks that in itself.
Yeah, it does. The first incident occurred on Tuesday, February 18th, by the way, at around 10 p.m. after those pilots that Christina was just mentioning spotted the UFO traveling near Gaziantep Airport, not Gobekli Tepe Airport, but Gaziantep Bay Airport at an altitude of around 10,000 feet. Now, they did turn around and radio the tower, and the air hub immediately grounded all the flights. That lasted for about an hour while they tried to identify the craft, which apparently, after everything was investigated, did not appear on radar. We've got a few cases like this that we're going to go over today, everybody, which is very strange to me, Christina, where you have witnesses on the ground, you have the pilots radioing in to air traffic control, other witnesses, civilian and ground crews, all making these sightings, and in some cases, large amounts of military, but nothing on radar. Now, we've got some on radar for sure, but a vast majority of these cases that are recent are not appearing on radar, although we have eyewitnesses. Very strange, don't you think?
It most definitely is. And then just to add more flavor to the curry that we're cooking up over here, there was an Istanbul incident back in May of 2023 at the Gaziantep airport, where we're seeing an image here of what the airport looks like. And there was an unidentified object detected at about 9,000 feet by both aircraft radar and air traffic control. And in this particular incident in May of 2023, there was a complete 12-hour closure that affected 26 flights and diverted all incoming traffic to alternate airports. If it was just casually a balloon or a bird or something like that, you wouldn't be shutting down the airport for 12 hours, losing millions in dollars. And if you know anything about airports, they only want your money and they don't really care about you, especially here in the States. I mean, it gives me like full on anxiety going through airports. But so for
Well,
them to
but
close it down for that long is saying that there was truly a hazard there.
yeah, and we can't blow past the fact that this was the same airport involved in two incidences, one in
Right.
2023, one in 2025. And the one that was just recent in 2025, they shut down the airport for about an hour. 2023, shut it down for 12 hours.
That's
And
crazy.
that is nuts. That is nuts. Man, we've got so many great cases. Let's do Brazil.
Okay.
We've
I
got
like
two
that one.
cases that we're going to cover in Brazil. The first one, I don't know if Christina knows about the second one, but we're going to find out. Brazil, June 23rd, 2022, fighter jets, and that's what we have up on the screen, chase mysterious bright objects, some of them 300 feet wide, Christina. Now, here's the astonishing part. Are you ready? Traveling at 11,500 miles per hour. And it's been
What?
called, yeah. And it's been called Brazil's Night of the UFOs. Five just bewildered pilots testified to seeing 21 objects appear and disappear, while hundreds of troops on the ground also witnessed them. And Air Force chiefs admitted there is no explanation. What do you make of this? 11,500 miles per hour.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
That's what I think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Another case, also in Brazil. This was May 19th, 1986. Very similar cases spread 20 years apart, 30 years apart. Over several hours, hundreds of witnesses, including the elite of the country's military, saw strange objects that seemed to move at terrifying speed. Pilots found themselves looking at objects in front of them that didn't appear on the aircraft's radars. Now, sometimes the other way around, as the objects played cat and mouse with them. The first signs of anything unusual, Cristina, were reported by Brazilian Air Force traffic controller Sergeant Sergio Mota da Silva on the evening of May 19th, 1986. Now, this is what he says. He said he spotted first a light in the sky from the control tower of the airport near the city of Sao Paulo. At one point, he said he dimmed the lights on the airport's runway, making the objects come towards him and the control tower. And then when he turned up the brightness, they turned and ran. Wow.
What?
Yeah.
But it only gets better. It only gets better because this incident was such a big deal in Brazil back in 1986 that 4 days later, May 23rd, 1986, the Air Force minister held an unprecedented press conference with the 5 pilots who attempted to intercept the objects in the sky. And his statement was remarkable by the Air Force minister, stating, "We can only give out technical information. There are several hypotheses. Technically, I tell you, gentlemen, that we have no explanation." Just the fact that they held a press conference after the incident is just remarkable. Why can't we get that over here? I mean, even today, this is 1986, but when it comes to South America, they are pretty ahead of their years when talking about UFOs. We know that Uruguay was one of the very first countries to actually create a public UFO office in the 1980s. Chile came in close. Then you had Argentina. Brazil has had a lot of UFO sightings. And over there, it just seems that it's just a more open conversation. The stigma isn't as deep as it is here in the States. So, I mean, I'm just blown away. I'm just shocked that they held a press conference right after
Well,
this
it's just
incident.
especially that it's the military doing this, right?
Exactly.
It's the military. And you bring up a good point. I got to meet, by the way, over the weekend, Leslie Kane.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to hang out with Leslie Kane. And she has been at the forefront of the South American governments and their military for a couple of decades. And she has developed relationships with the military of Argentina and Chile and Brazil and other countries down there, where she has met with the brass of the military to talk about the subject of UFOs and their contact and their data collection. And so this, you're absolutely right. Those countries have been way out in front of the United States. But even more impressive to me is it is the military that is doing it. The military are trained professional observers. And they have the planes, they have the helicopters, they have the radar, and they have the sensors to pick up and track this phenomena too as well. So
Well,
absolutely fascinating that it's the military with these press conferences.
and I have more to this because The official Brazilian Air Force report, declassified in 2009, concluded that the phenomena were solid and reflect in a certain way intelligence due to the ability to follow and maintain a distance from observers, as well as fly in formation. And the report noted the objects were capable of varying their velocities from subsonic to supersonic speeds, changing altitudes from below 5,000 to above 40,000 feet, and emitting various colored lights or no lights at all. Just another little extra highlight to this. They got their report declassified in 2009 while we're still over here struggling to get reports declassified.
Yeah.
So,
And I think we're getting closer to that. But our military, they are so acclimated to keeping secrets from each other. The Air Force from the Navy from the Marines from the Army, and they just don't share information and they want to keep things secret. And we certainly have been dealing with our own Air Force doing this since 1947.
right.
Moving on, let's now China. China is interesting here. Now we've got a couple of cases, but China, it seems, now we're dealing with a communist government that controls the media and everything that is released. But Christina, you and I have done a lot of shows over the years about the Chinese government revealing to the media, they control the media, UFOs and their airports being shut down. It has happened numerous times. And one of the first cases that I remember was on July 14th in Beijing of 2010, when an unidentified object, a UFO, forced the Zhoushan airport in China to cease operations. And this was, again, on July 7th. The report came out on July 14th. A flight crew preparing for descent first detected the object at around 8:40 p.m. and notified air traffic control. Aviation authorities responded within minutes, grounding outbound flights and diverting inbound flights to airports in the area. 18 flights, Christina, were affected. Operations resumed about an hour later. Now, this is one of numerous airport shutdowns in China that continue to this day. You're muted. Unmute. Unmute.
Gotcha.
You know, this technical world that we live in, right? And
It's hard to catch up.
You're always, everybody that does this now, we have mixing consoles, we have software, we have microphone interfaces. Everything's got a mute button on it. And if you're not ahead of the game, something in the chain is muted, and then you've got to go and figure out which one. So, but there you go. You're back.
You get the struggle. When it comes to China, it's a absolutely massive country. So it would only make sense that there would be so many UFO reports. However, only so many have been publicly documented where we can find online. But this one on July 10th is one of the most famous ones of UFOs being seen over an airport and how it affected the not only the airport, but how the Chinese government also looked at this as well. Because there was even a researcher from the Purple Mountain University of the Chinese Academy of Sciences who also studies UFOs by the name of Wang Shi Chao. And what he realized is that in 2010, he predicted at that time, back in 2010, that great events concerning UFOs would emerge in China, noting the increased frequency of well documented sightings. The unfortunate part, and we're lucky to live in a new age where we're able to get things very quickly translated. You know, Google has that feature now. You can go to a foreign website and it will translate it to your language. But if you look back at 2010, you didn't get that kind of luxury. So as we're starting to catch up, look into the archives, we are just now, in many respects, finding old cases that we are now able to translate and understand and then put into our own archives in our own language. I also want to mention before we continue, Mike, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Scott, thank you for that super chat, along with Moon, Michael, and Mark Tasaka. Thank you so much, you
Tasaka.
guys, for supporting the channel over here. While we're looking at the East, there's another one that we have to discuss, and that is Taiwan. In May of 2023, that should kind of ring a bell because one of the UFO sightings in Turkey took place during that same time frame. This one,
On the same day,
that's
Christina.
even the
That's
crazier part.
great. Well, so as we jump into this, when everybody wants facts, they want data, they want connections. Is there anything going? And then you have virtually the same incident happening over airports, one in Taiwan, one in Turkey, on the same day. Now, we're talking about data collection and analysis, and what do we do here? Well, this happened on the same day, 2 airport closures. It's crazy. What happened in Taiwan? Again, this is May 17th, 2023.
So while the one in Turkey it was shut down for a few hours, this airport was only shut down for about 40 minutes at the Taoyuan International Airport. But overall, the circumstances were nearly identical. And these pilots spotted an unidentified object at about 1,000 feet, forcing this 40-minute shutdown. And simultaneously, controllers couldn't determine whether the object was a drone or something else entirely because during I don't think our systems can really decipher if things are drones or not. Can they, Jimmy?
It depends. Now, the FAA, depending on the size of the drone, it comes down to weight. The
Mm.
size of the drone, they have to be registered with the FAA. You
Oh
have
yeah.
a unique identification number. And yes, so the drone operator, who owns the drone and its location are available. So now with airports around the world, do they register their drones the same way? Every country is different. Here in the United States, if it's over a certain weight, absolutely we can tell the difference between a drone and a known aircraft.
But we also have to consider the fact that if they're military, would they be registered? It's like when we hear all these stories of black helicopters that are not registered by any means. You can't find them on radar. Can't that also be done for these drones?
Yes, and again, it can. Now, is it commercially available to civilians? Some military flights are. Okay, and the reason for that is that you have to be known in the area to civilian aircraft or commercial aircraft. You have to let everybody know that you are around so you don't have collisions and
Right.
everything is safe. But that's here in the United States. I can't respond to that outside of the country. Now, in this case, though, with Taiwan, all of this started Saturday morning in Turkey, which is the case that we talked about earlier, when the passenger plane arriving at the airport alerted air traffic controllers. This was sighted at an altitude at around 9,000 feet. The airport shut down for 12 hours, and as we mentioned, canceled 26 flights. But here in Taiwan, a few hours later, now officially Monday morning, at the Taiwan Airport, International Airport in Taiwan, the first pilot spotted the UFO at an altitude of just 1,000 feet. Now, officials shut down the airport for 40 minutes. What is strange about these 2 sightings is they happened over airports on the same day, just a few hours apart. The difference being one was at 9,000 feet, the one over Taiwan, 9,000 feet, the one over in Taiwan was just 1,000 feet above the airport, but they weren't able to get a definitive description of the craft or its size, which goes back to, was it a drone or was it a known aircraft conversation?
Don't you just love a good pattern? I like it. It
Oh
just like
yeah.
it gives me goosebumps. It feels so good.
Now, this next case, and we've got a couple. I've got a surprise here that I'm going to drop on everybody. But this next case, Christina, you and I covered. It's one of the most fascinating cases for me because
Oh,
it's recent. We have an attempt at video. We've got lots of images. Some of this, well, I'll jump into it right now. This is Manchester, United Kingdom. We've all heard about the case. This was November 27th of last year in 2024. That's a crazy shot right there that's up on the screen. Now, this mysterious round blue spherical ball shaped object was sighted on the runway right here in the image at Manchester Airport. Reports were that the object was spotted on the ground and then took off into the sky when approached by a security vehicle. Now, we have covered this in the past, and you can go back to Christina and I's previous shows about this, where we do a pretty good deep dive. It was observed on the ground, it was reported to the tower, and yes, abruptly took off as video footage was recorded. That's the crazy part about this case, right? Is it intelligent? Does it know when it's about to be recorded? Is it sentient? Now, looking at the object, I would say probe. I would say probe. I don't think that there's a little dude in there. Maybe there is. Maybe there is a little guy. But it also reminds me of the Boogosphere.
dun dun dun.
Yep. Yep. A lot of these, there's so much footage now of these metal spheres flying around. And I would say, I could be wrong, but if you, and I don't think I am, but if you're an intelligent civilization like we are, what are we doing? We're sending probes to every planet in our star system. We're landing probes on asteroids, crashing, trying to do stuff with comets. This is what we do. We don't have people, they're not manned vehicles, but they're intelligently controlled. We control them. And that's what we do to send out and collect data and do research. That's what we do. And if you're an intelligent civilization, this is a beautiful blue planet. Christina, wouldn't you be doing the exact same thing?
Absolutely. No hesitation.
Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing here. When I know we've done a couple of shows on this, when the story started to break, the images popped up, and then we have the reports of okay, I'm going to jump into the official and unofficial. There were reports, although no pilots officially went on the record, that this was cited from the cockpits of aircrafts, and pilots saw this on the runway and reported it. That's a professional observation, isn't it?
It is. Now, the way that this one is different from the other cases that we spoke about is one, we do have video footage, but we also actually have an official response from the Manchester airport. The
Mhm.
previous encounters, we didn't really get anything. They just tried to brush it off and avoid it like it never happened. But this one, so it's believed that this sighting took place in June of 2024. The Manchester airport did not give their official response until almost 6 months later in
That's right.
December of 2024, which the end of 2024, there was a lot of focus on UFOs, and I am specifically referring to the mysterious drone incident in New Jersey, which was simultaneously happening in Germany, Denmark, England, and Sudan, just to name a few countries, along with in multiple parts of the US, like New York,
Mhm.
New Jersey. There were some reports in Pennsylvania as well. So I think it's
Right here
only
in
appropriate.
California, in
California, great
Vandenberg
point.
Space Force Base. Yes.
So it was only appropriate for Manchester to give an official statement during that same time frame. Now, their explanation is definitely an eye roller of, oh, okay. They debunked the incident and they said, oh, it was a fake from social media. And it could have been anything, but it's definitely not a UFO. They even mentioned that airport officials explained that they have sophisticated detection systems that pick up anything that could be a threat to aviation. But like the previous encounters that we spoke of, some of these instances were scanned on radar while others were not. So it's not a surprise that if this was a genuine UFO, that it wouldn't be seen by air traffic control or on radar either. But I feel like this one really made its rounds. This one was analyzed by so many different people. There were even AI renditions to get a clearer look on this image. And I think it really sparked interest and curiosity for those traveling during the holidays, getting into an airplane and really keeping their eyes on the skies, looking at the runways as well of, oh my gosh, am I going to be the next person that's going to see a strange UFO? It's I can even compare it to the Guardia incident, which was a little before this. This was in New York, where a woman captured a UFO on camera, and that went absolutely viral as well. So next time you're at the airport and you have a window seat, look out the window through most of it. And if you can't stay awake, record it on your phone.
Yes, I fly so much, right? I fly once a week or every other week all year long. I'm constantly looking out. I want that moment. I've
Right.
seen stuff. I've never seen like what I would classify as a UFO, but I've seen some pretty strange things. Here's the rule of thumb. This is like an FAA general statement, okay? From an airplane, a commercial jet, you should never be able to see another plane.
That's right.
Okay? Right? Now, so I'm looking. So if you see something flying in the skies, and I have, uh, it 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 better not be a plane. But I have seen stuff, and I've shot video of things, but no, never something that I would think is a UFO. I did see before we move on. I didn't save the best for last, but I've got the granddaddy of all cases coming up. But one day I'm always there with my camera ready on video, and my cell phone is always charged and ready to go. I'm looking out the window, Christina off in the distance. I'm on the left hand side, the port side of this plane. I'm sitting up front in first class. And I only bring that up because when you sit like that, you don't have anybody around you. You've got like your own cabin. So it's not like you can tap somebody next to you and go, check this out. But anyway, so I'm looking out the window and I see off in the distance through the clouds this black line of smoke, right? And it's coming out of the clouds like this, and it's really slow. So I start shooting a video of it, and black. Okay, black, not a white vapor trail, not great, a black trail of smoke. And this thing's going up. And I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. And then a second one right behind it, right? So two black trail. Now, that kind of leveled out, but disappeared up in at altitude. What normally creates that is like a B-52, an older Air Force bomber aircraft. I never got a view of it. I never saw it. I don't know, but I did shoot the videos. I'll have to go back and find them. The videos were probably 2 or 3 minutes long. Yeah, yeah. Other than that, I've seen other airplanes fly by and stuff, but I've never seen anything crazy. Certainly nothing like what happened in Chicago over at O'Hare Airport. One of my favorite cases. It's been covered. Leslie Kane covered this case. James Fox did a great job. I think it was I Know What I Saw or Out of the Blue, one of those two documentaries, covered this case. November 7th, 2006. I'm going to break this down. It's a pretty deep case. Witnesses described a disc-shaped object estimated to be between 20 to 80 feet in diameter, hovering silently over gate C-17 at O'Hare Airport. Now, this is how it breaks down. Some described it as metallic and gray with no windows or markings. Now, despite 12 United Airlines employees that went on the record and the large number of witnesses in and around the airport, there was no photographic or video evidence of the object. Now, what you're looking at there on the right-hand side is one of the only known images of this day. Now, despite all of that, you ready? Here's the dun, dun, dun. The FAA refused to investigate the incident because the UFO was not seen on radar.
Dun, dun, dun.
The object was first spotted by a ramp employee who's been interviewed and is on the record. And he was pushing back a United Airlines flight, and that was flight 446, which was departing Chicago for Charlotte, North Carolina. The employee told flight 446's crew that there was a flying saucer above their aircraft. So he's looking at it. He's running that tractor, right, that pushes the planes back. He sees it. He's in contact with the pilot. That's what he's doing from the ground as a ground crew. And he says, hey, there's something right above your plane. The object was also witnessed by pilots, airline management, and mechanics. No air traffic controllers saw the object. One of the air traffic controllers who was in contact with the ground crew calls the tower. The phone call is recorded. I see an object above hangar C-17. She said, the flight controller said, I was looking out the window. I couldn't see it. From my vantage point, I could not see it, but apparently it was directly above C-17. The other description from everybody, this is witnesses from people that were also driving around the airport, Cristina, that the object opened up a hole in the clouds, and the object was sitting in the middle of the hole in the clouds. And it, like I said, one of the most documented cases. It's a modern case. So many eyewitnesses above Chicago O'Hare Airport, and at times, depending on the year, it is the busiest airport in the world. Was not tracked on radar.
How disappointing.
Yeah, I know.
It's almost as like shocking as when Dr. John Kozlowski just recently did an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he was discussing how law enforcement saw a triangular UFO that was shooting these red and blue lights, but there was no camera footage, no dash cam footage, nothing like that. And then people, when they hear that, they take a step back and say, okay, well, no, it didn't really happen. But if the police were to get a video, 9 out of 10, 9.9 out of 10, it wouldn't be a good picture. People would say, no, it's fake. Like, you just simply can't win. But in this case, for the O'Hare incident not being caught on radar, especially during this time frame of 2003, I can, from maybe an FAA perspective, I can see of like, yeah, we're not going to investigate it because there's nothing really to look at. But that's where you go when you talk to the pilots and the witnesses and you do a deeper dive. But that's not how the narrative works, is it, Jimmy?
No. And when you have a ground crew, right, that is all looking up, airplane mechanics that are looking up, pilots that saw this, the staff of American Airlines, 12 witnesses from American Airlines management team, they work at the airport. They know what airplanes are. They're
Right, I
always
would hope
looking
so.
at, it's a safety issue. It's a huge safety issue. And they know what they are looking at. Now, here's the other component to this that is very mysterious why the FAA didn't look into this. It wasn't quick. This object was above hangar C-17 for over 5 minutes.
That's
People
right.
were there looking at it and observing it, and then it flew away and the clouds closed up.
But it
And
made a
so
puncture through the clouds, giving
it
it
may,
that donut hole look.
that's right. That's right. And then the FAA said it was a weather anomaly.
Boo.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I love this stuff. When it comes to airports where we have sensors, we have radar, we have ground crews, we have pilots, we have flight controllers. These are all professionals that deal with our skies, and that's why I think it's so important to listen to them and to investigate properly. And the other part with this, if the last resort for anyone in that position is to ground aircraft.
That's right.
It causes so much disruption in travel. If the airport is grounding aircraft, that means all of the flights coming in are now backed up. They have to do something, and then the chain reaction starts. Lately, over the last week, and I've been dealing with this in all of the flights that I've taken over the last 2 weeks. We've had grounding of airlines that have had technical glitches in their software. That's not a UFO thing, but what it is a thing of is it disrupts everything. You have cancellation of flights, you have grounded flights, nobody can land at the airport, nobody can take off, and then everything before and after is completely backed up. It causes mayhem up to through all of the airports, not only in the United States, but stuff that is coming in that is flying international. That's why it's a last resort for any airport to shut down. Something happened over these airports, and I think it was ET.
And what a great way to end today's show. Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the show today. Who do you have on Fade to Black tonight?
Linda Moulton Howe.
Nice.
Yeah, Linda Moulton Howe. So Earth Files on Fade to Black tonight, everybody. It's going to be a great night. She's always amazing when she comes on, and her research is the best. So tonight, Linda Moulton Howe. But for now, all I've got is Go Back, Lee Tappy. I'll talk to you soon, Cristina. Great to be back.
Thank you, Jimmy. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button right down below. Subscribe and share this episode with those you want to keep in the know with the latest UFO news. And make sure to subscribe if you enjoy UFO news, updates, case studies, and interviews. You will find all that right here, as I am now doing daily videos on UFO news updates. I want to say thank you to everyone catching today's live show, to everyone liking this video, for all of the incredible super chats and new members. Thank you guys so much. Also, I do write articles for all of the shows right here. You can find them on my website at ufonews.co with all of the sources embedded in them. That link is in the description box below. It is ufonews.co, not .com, .co. That is it for today. I will see you next time. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies. If you enjoy the strange and the mysterious, UFOs, the paranormal, and cryptids, this channel is for you. So make sure to subscribe, as I do 3 videos right here every single week, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the bonus content I post right here.